Every time a new actor takes on the title role in Doctor Who, one of the many criticisms that they often face is that their portrayal of the character is too human. The humanity of the Doctor for me is one of the most fascinating things about the character, and seeing as he's spent an awful lot of time on Earth, it only makes sense that he'd inherit some human traits and ideas. But which incarnation of the Doctor is actually the most human? This thought randomly popped into my brain a few days ago, and I became absolutely obsessed with it. And seeing as YouTube and social media algorithms love it when you rank stuff, I thought it would be really fun to have a go at ranking all the TV Doctors according to how human they are, starting with the most alien Doctor and working towards the most human version of the character. My name's Ruby, aka Hoobie Jones. That's Petrol the Dalek, and you're watching Which Doctor is the Most Human? Now, seeing as Storm Area 51 failed back in 2019, and we never actually got to see them aliens, we unfortunately have no real-world reference point for what an alien should behave like. But I guess we're judging alienness by how they stack up against quote-unquote normal human behaviour and social norms. I've not academically rewatched all of Doctor Who to make this video or anything similar. This is just me exploring a fun random idea I had and wanting to share it with you guys. And my ranking and ordering of the Doctors by no means is meant as a critique of any of them, saying that more alien is better and that more human is bad or anything like that. Of course, you're totally free to disagree with this, and if you want to leave a comment, feel free to do so, but please be respectful of me and the other people down there, and remember, this is just a bit of light-hearted fun. So, starting off with the most alien Doctor, we have the one and only Tom Baker as the Fourth Doctor. It just had to be Tom as the most alien. From his very first scenes in Robot, he is nothing like his predecessors, and whilst you could say that he's just being so silly and over the top, you get that sense immediately that he has no place amongst the soldiers and staff of UNIT and the other characters in this story. Another moment that made me put Tom instantly as the most alien Doctor was that great scene in City of Death where he's talking to the Countess and he says, "Well, you're a beautiful woman, probably." This Doctor doesn't give a damn about social norms, like in The Face of Evil where he threatens to kill someone with a deadly jelly baby. Only an alien from another world would do something like that. The speech he gives in The Ark in Space 2 is another moment for me. You know the bit, Homo sapiens and all that. He's clearly giving off this vibe of, I like you guys, but I'm not one of you. And he does this so often throughout his entire run. In 14th place, we have the Doctor who I think carried off most convincingly the concept that he was this ancient being from another world in the body of a young British man. And that is the 11th Doctor, Matt Smith. I originally wasn't sure where to place Matt in this ranking, but then after bouncing ideas back about this list to a friend, he rightly reminded me that Matt Smith's Doctor never fits in with humans wherever he is. I then thought back to stories like The Lodger, where even though he develops a sort of friendship with Craig, there's this constant element of uncertainty where Craig just isn't sure at all who this guy is or where he's from or anything like that. Smith's Doctor isn't afraid to make things awkward, to make his opinion known. Heck, his behaviour at Amy and Rory's wedding gives us a great insight into how alien this incarnation is. I think also the brief moments where he is sort of humanised are all driven, to me at least, by and viewed through the lens of his companions, rather than that of the Doctor himself. Generally, I think that Stephen Moffat wanted to reintegrate some of the more wacky alienness into the show with both of his Doctors, and the excellent range and performances of Matt Smith were the perfect vehicle for him to be able to do this. In 13th place, we have the Doctor who perhaps most directly influenced Matt Smith's take on the character, with the so-called Doctor's Doctor, Patrick Troughton. I think Patrick Troughton was the first Doctor to really explore the full length of the alienness of his character, and during his tenure lots more key elements of lore surrounding the Doctor were developed. We've got him name-dropping historical figures that he knows or he's met, like when he says that he studied medicine under Joseph Lister and stuff like that, as well as his costume, his overall clownish demeanour, which really sells the idea that we're watching someone from another world. This Doctor, perhaps unlike Smith, is slightly more human in that he's very outwardly emotional emotional and openly in touch with his emotions. He gets slightly angry very quickly throughout his stories where things aren't going his way, and he lacks that alien level of restraint that, say, Matt Smith's Doctor possesses. I think the dynamic with his companions also made me put him at this point in the list. For example, when he's hanging around with Jamie and Zoe and he's just joking around with them, the humanness of his character really shines through, as he's able to step back and just have a laugh with them, and it just feels like he's one of the gang and that they're just three ordinary earthlings hanging out together. In 12th place, we have the Doctor who helped reinvent the show back in 2005 with Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor. When I was first thinking about this list, Eccleston was one of the first Doctors I thought of as being the most alien. From his first episode, Rose, there's just a great rejection of social norms, like how Rose goes through this traumatic experience of seeing the Autons and getting her work blown up, and he's like, well, see ya, that's it basically. His overall contempt for humanity at times is also a great reminder of his otherworldliness. You know that bit, I picked another stupid ape and all that. He also seems very far removed from everyone he meets during the series, and his sheer anger and trauma relating to what he's just been through with the Time War and being the last of the Time Lords really echoes the alienness. There are moments as the series goes on where his human traits begin to shine through, like when he dances with Rose during the Empty Child two-parter, but for the most part, right up until the end, he's got this outlaw traveller sort of vibe, in that we don't really know who he is or where he comes from or what his intentions are or if he's even the good guy, but he seems to be alright and it's very fun to watch him. In 11th place, I've gone with Sylvester McCoy's 7th Doctor. Now, one of the things that made this ranking so hard was how much the characterisation of some Doctors shifted during their tenures. For example, first season McCoy is a completely different beast to final season McCoy. Nonetheless, I've ranked him here because there's so much dark mystery in this version of the character. For example, the fact that he might be Merlin at some point in his future during Battlefield, or that he's hiding something about his dark Time Lord past and who he really is in Silver Nemesis, really sells his alienness. But at the same time, there's these incredibly light, almost paternal moments that he has with Ace, where you could just read it as a human family dynamic. He also integrates himself very well with random characters and people in a way that seems very human at times. His goofy jokes that he has with Mel in his first season just read as him being a bit of a clown sort of character. I think it's the range of his Doctor that made him so hard to place. He can be incredibly calculating, distant and alien, yet also warm, like you've asked your dad for help and he gives you a nice pep talk. Directly above McCoy in the 10th spot, we've got my own personal favourite Doctor in Peter Capaldi. Initially, Capaldi was going to be right at the bottom of this ranking as the most alien, but the more I thought about it, despite the fact that he's jaded, grumpy and old, he can also be very human. I mean, it doesn't get any more human than being so emotionally outraged by the death of your companion that you break time and reality itself to try and kind of save her and bring her back. His other human moments come when he's the professor at the university in series 10, as he sort of becomes a regular member of society in many ways, integrating himself fairly well into our world and our customs. He's another Doctor that's often reminding us that although he's here to help and save humanity, he's definitely not just another stupid human. The episode Heaven Sent is also a great showcase of his alien side. No human would be able to think and survive in the way that he does throughout that episode and come out of the other side alive and unscathed. I think Capaldi gets the balance perfectly right and knows exactly when to pull back from being the warm and cuddly guardian of his companions to become this angry, ancient being who has seen and experienced things that we could never imagine, not in a million years. Just above him, I've placed the Doctor who directly inspired Capaldi's performance with William Hartnell's first Doctor in 9th place. I put Hartnell here because although he is very aloof, very grumpy and otherworldly at times, he's also just a regular family guy a lot of the time he's on screen. I think I've ranked him here too because the show's producers and writers at the time didn't yet know or didn't really want to explore his origins too much, so we never really get a glimpse of that side of the character during this era. Whilst his antics in An Unearthly Child have Hartnell at his most calculating, most mysterious and most alien, as his run goes on, at times, especially during something like The Chase, he just becomes this slightly quirky, funny granddad sort of character. And what's more human than looking directly into the camera at the end of the Feast of Stephen and wishing a Merry Christmas to everyone watching at home? Just above and slightly more human than Hartnell, we have the 14th Doctor, aka David Tennant Mark II. I've ranked him here for a few reasons. He certainly does show off some very alien moments, and is definitely more alien than David Tennant Mark I, but at the same time, he also very easily falls back into that happy human relationship with his companions when Donna is properly reintroduced. I'm definitely glad that when Tennant did come back for the 60th anniversary specials, and it was announced that he would be the 14th Doctor, that his portrayal of the character was markedly different from his 10th Doctor. I think that really changed it up and is why he's ranked so alien in this list. He's got the scars of everything that went on before, like the whole timeless child thing, being trapped in the confession dial, and heck, half the universe being destroyed with flux, which adds to this incarnation's alien mystique. His ending is so very human though. I mean, settling down on Earth to be a family man with his TARDIS in the garden, I mean, what the heck is all that about? Which is why he's ranked 8th on this list. In 7th spot, we've got the Doctor who genuinely was the hardest to place in all of this list, in Colin Baker's 6th Doctor. The main reason this was so difficult was because, well, 1, his run is so short, and 2, frankly, he's just so much of a colourful character throughout his entire run that it's hard to draw the line between him being arrogant, rude and mean to being alien. And for me, that level of bickering that goes on in the TARDIS, the rudeness and the selfishness on display, is 100% pure human behaviour and seems to be everything that the Doctor would stand against and would hate. But on the other hand, his eccentricity and fashion choice is distinctively and well and truly alien. This makes on-screen 6C the Hovist 50-50 best of both Doctor, and justifies his place here on the list. After what I've said, you'd maybe presume that I'm a 6th Doctor hater, but I absolutely love Colin Baker and his take on the character and this whole era. But for the purpose of this ranking, his pomp and arrogance definitely make him feel more human to me than the Doctors I've already mentioned. In 6th place, we've got the Doctor who perhaps had the most human daily life and behaviour pattern in Jon Pertwee's Third Doctor. For those of you unfamiliar with this incarnation, he is exiled to Earth for much of his run, and well, he almost has an office job at UNIT as their scientific advisor. He has his own car in Bessie, his own office in UNIT, and his very own assistant, and comes off as this mad and angry scientific genius. What's more human than that? Then on the other hand, although we get constantly reminded that he begrudgingly lives in this time period and in our world, he is not a part of it. For example, his dress sense gives him away almost immediately, as do little moments even in his first outing Spearhead from Space, where he introduces himself to Liz Shaw by saying "how do you do" using his eyebrows, the communication language of the planet Delphan. He's also the first to stick up for any alien invaders, kind of acting as a pseudo-ambassador for any aliens who are perceived to be hostile, which again adds to this Doctor's otherworldliness. In 5th place, we have my childhood Doctor in David Tennant's 10th Doctor. Again, Tennant Mark I was very difficult to rank. If we were, say, going solely from his behaviour in Series 2, I'd definitely be ranking him as the most human Doctor. His love for Rose Tyler, their flirty energy and chemistry together is just so human. Even that whole dynamic when Mickey is in the TARDIS and they're just joking around and fobbing Mickey off is just so earthly. But after he's separated from Rose at the end of that series, he becomes more mysterious, more otherworldly, and we're reminded throughout his next 2 series that he is a lot more than he lets on, and he brings this alienness back into the character. The whole "you are not alone" thing with the face of Bo, then him finding the Master has survived, brings back all this sort of memories and things surrounding Gallifrey and the Time War, and he manages to juggle the comedic and heartwarming elements really nicely with the sombre tone of Christopher Eccleston, carrying the guilt and the pain of his past and the Time War, which has earned him the 5th place on this list. In 4th place, we have the Doctor who I think desperately wanted to be human in Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor. Now, I know ranking Jodie as being this human may cause some of you to raise your eyebrows, but hear me out. I watched Jodie's entire run on broadcast, and to me, from the very first time that she gets the fam together, it seems like she desperately just wants to be one of them, and I think she adjusts her behaviour accordingly, so that she can just be one of the gang and one of the fam. They just seem like 4 mates who are exploring drawing the universe together, with Jodie's wit, charisma and charm gluing the whole thing together. But on the other side of this, we've got moments that make her distinctively alien, like when Graham brings up that he's scared that his cancer will come back, the fact that the Doctor doesn't notice how much Yaz is desperately into her and wants to be with her, and of course, the whole thing of her being the timeless child and how that affects her relationship and with those people around her is very alien. In third place, we have who I believe to be the most human Doctor in the original TV run of the classic series, with the 5th Doctor portrayed by Peter Davison. Now, I love what Doctor Who did in replacing Tom Baker's totally alien and totally in control Doctor with the super vulnerable Davison. But it means for this ranking that he does come off as quite human. Like the fam in Jodie's era, throughout his first series, especially with Nyssa, Tegan and Adric in the TARDIS, it's almost a soap opera family dynamic set against the backdrop of space and time travel. Moments like when Davison angrily argues with the cyber leader in Earthshock about the joys of emotion and human nature feel very, well, human, I guess, as does his reaction to Adric's death and his response to it in the follow-up Time Flight. His most alien moments tend to come up when he confronts various evils, such as when he faces off with Mordrin in Mordrin Undead. We get this real sense of his past and his role as a Time Lord and not just another mere human. In second place, we have the most recent version of the Doctor at the time of filming this video in Ncuti Gatwa. I loved Ncuti's Doctor, and his run was just a joy to watch unfold over his criminally short tenure. Ncuti's take on the character has this emotional depth which I'm not sure we've really ever seen in the character before. He dances in nightclubs, he cries and he outwardly expresses his emotion very often and isn't afraid to show his anger when he confronts the likes of Conrad in Lucky Day or Kid in the Interstellar Song Contest. He's also a social butterfly. Everyone seems to love him. He gets on so well with the likes of UNIT and the people there in a way that his past selves definitely wouldn't have. He's the sort of Doctor you'd be proud to bring home to show your mum. And frankly, I think that the fact that he comes off as so human is down to us spending barely any time with him on screen. He's got, 18 episodes, not counting the giggle? 3 of them are very Doctor light. That's hardly any time to actually get to know him. So I feel like if there was maybe another series with him, he'd rank as more alien on this list. Both of his series arcs have also revolved around his companions too, so there's much lesser emphasis on exploring his character, which makes him seem more human. And in first place, because of a frankly stupid technicality which I just couldn't ignore, partly because it made me laugh, is the 8th Doctor portrayed by Paul McGann. Despite only being on screen for 1 hour and 29 minutes, I guess around 1 hour 40 if we count the Night of the Doctor, McGann's take on the character lands the top spot on my list because of something in the TV movie which I just can't ignore. And that is, well, he's half human on his mother's side. He reveals this to Grace just before he kisses her, and this is repeated by the Master. So there we go. The most human Doctor of them all by default is definitively Paul McGann. Hang on. Human nature and family of blood, didn't the Doctor sort of turn himself into a human for that story, and didn't he create the Meta-Crisis Doctor in that episode, which is also half human and in the parallel world? And oh my god, this is more confusing than the reality war. 1 second, I'll have to adjust the list accordingly. Okay, in 0.5th place, we have both the Meta-Crisis Doctor and the Doctor from Human Nature Family of Blood that turns himself into a human, which should tie up every single loose end. Well, it turns out there is one more version of the Doctor that is even more human than these two. In 0th place, definitively the most human Doctor of them all is Peter Cushing in the 2 Dalek movies. That's right, we're going deep, my friends. Cushing's Doctor is written specifically as a human who's got kids and who built the TARDIS himself in his backyard and just likes to gallivant through time and space every now and then for a bit of a laugh. I really love Peter Cushing's version of the Doctor and would love to be in a parallel universe where he went on and made a Cyberman film and all that good stuff. Anyway, we've finally come to the end of this massive, fun and epic ranking. I want to emphasise again that this list is by no means gospel, just a bit of fun I cooked up and chatted about with some friends that I thought would make a really fun video. What's your ranking of the Doctors according to their humanness? Let me know in the comments below. I'd also be thrilled if you subscribe to the channel, as when Hubie Jones hits 300 subscribers, I'll do a list ranking my own personal top 10 classic Doctor Who stories. Also, this channel has a Patreon, and if you like what you see here and want to get your name in the credits of future videos, as well as behind the scenes content and things like that, I'd be honoured if you supported me on that platform. The link is down in the description below. Well, that's just about it from me. Thank you so much for watching.